เมืองโตเปอิลูจงยาวซาคราเมนต์แคลนี่นาผมมัวลาไม่ไปสั่งเลยออปวดพาตูใช้จะเกี่ยนอกอาหหูเกี่ยจวนเจจอิลูเจลูรอแต่สิเกี่ยวันเอาจื้อจนเตลูเตเชว่ามันเกี่ยก็จะมัวปีที่มัวเสาซื้อจงเลยเตลูเตเชว่าอยู่หัวตายจะอยู่หัวตายอยู่เดียวนั้นตายอยู่จะอยู่ตู้ใช้อยู่หรอคันที่อยู่แต่เด็กหนุ่มเจเดียเป็นตัวเจ้าเมืองจริงเดี๋ยวจีนมองว่าในทอนตัวชี้เจ้าชงหรือเจ้าไปใช่ไหมเท่าเลยคันเดอ currently นี่ตัว president ที่ตัว CEO เจ้าเขา E Center what is E Center and who is E Center ลูกของเขาในลูก private non-profit organization or ยอดตัว Southern County จีจ้าเราแต่จะกินนะครับหูเราจะกินกันต่อกันได้กินจะกินเจตัวตอนนี้เนาะยัยตัวพงยืยัยตัวนายยัยตัวนั่งจังจังยัยตัวเจอตุนเจเขาเจในมงกูมั่วรัวเจ้าท้อนี่เจ้ากูเจอ President and CEO of E Center ที่ formerly Mayor Steve Lee เราสอบชัดเทียน
我是Peter，那看见上呢，我在叫个地理战士的叫我那我去从拉都要上山点弄呢，这个状态的听个什么路地方呢，古兰基那天，这天嘛弄呢，你只要地了张是，但是要按照这些古币按照那样。I know everyone's been talking about your father, and nobody has mentioned you. So let me tell you a little bit story, and I promise to speak more English because I know many of you don't speak a word of Hmong, but are patiently sitting here because your parents made you come to the event. So let me start out with English, and most important thing that I wanted to share with many of you is a few years back when I was elected onto the Elk Grove Unified School District Board of Education. I had a young man who promoted out of kindergarten, and when he promoted out of kindergarten, he was so quiet in the class, very obedient, and so coincidentally, the teacher happened to overlook him, and the teacher did not give him a certificate on promotion day. And so I was absolutely upset when I heard this, and lo and behold, it was Andrew. And Andrew, many of you know, he's a very quiet, well-behaved young man, and of course, you can go back many years to when he was in kindergarten. He was overlooked by his teacher. So John had shared that with me, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is horrible. You know, I mean, how could a teacher, how could one of our teachers overlook a student? Part of the obligation of being a teacher is to be able to reach every student, is to be able to make sure your curriculum is accessible by all of your students that are in the classroom. Part of my frustration in this particular case is that this teacher overlooked a student. It doesn't matter who the student is, but the most critical part is that the teacher did overlook him. So what we did was we made a plan. We wanted to carve out some time, and me as a trustee, I wanted to go and have an opportunity to share in the celebration with Andrew and his brothers that flew all the way from the Midwest. And so what we did was we paused the class, we made it a big deal, we informed the principal, hey, you know what, the trustee is coming to acknowledge this young man because your teacher had overlooked him. And so since that day on, I've seen Andrew bloom into the young man that you see today. Nunana, Andrew will be attending the University of California, one of the most notable institution in the world in research, one of the most well-recognized institution in which we can all be proud of. And so that being the case, I know that Andrew had been going back and forth about some other campuses, but I have to say I'm proud to have a part in convincing you to attend the University of California. Many of you know that is the higher tier public education that is laser focused on research. And so instead of reading about the theories, you're taking classes from the professors who wrote the textbook. And so that's one of the things that I'm real proud that you've chose that path. The other thing that I wanted to share with you is, you see, this young man is not only excels in education, but he's also a well-recognized volleyball player. And so he's ascended in that, as well as I hear that a lot of girls actually like him. And I don't know if any of his girlfriends are here. That's with an S too, by the way. He has multiple different girls, I think. I don't want to give him a hard time, just in case his girlfriend's here. His girlfriend's gonna give him a hard time. But kidding aside, it just makes me so proud, especially seeing a young man matriculate to the level that he is, and then graduating. Of all folks that I've met in Elk Grove Unified, Andrew is one of those that really hits close to home, because I've seen him grow up. And growing up and having an opportunity now to attend this very prestigious university makes me very, very proud. So congratulations, Andrew. I've seen you when you were very, very young, and I've seen you grow into a man now. And I've also seen you outgrow me, because I used to be taller than you, but now, and so, that in itself says a lot. And I'm growing the wrong way, not vertically. But that is a sign that, folks like your father, your mother, myself, we're all getting old. And this is a time in which we're going to be passing the torch to young people just like you. And this is your opportunity to move it forward. And so this is real critical for you. I talked to Lisa, Leland, and Antikoa, and we thought about what can we give you, right, that will prepare you for college. See, I'm an expert at going to school, because I was looking at my life, and I'm 50 years old. I spent half of my life in school. And so, law school, undergrad, everything else, in the combination of everything. So the one thing I'm good at is going to school. And the other thing that I'm really good at is surviving while you're going to school. And I taught Lisa and Alina this as well. There are certain things that when you go to the University of California, you need to prepare. And I brought them all here. And so I'm going to invite you up. Would you come on up? Why don't you stand on this side, young man? Okay. The first thing that I want to give you is in this card. And as you open this, you will realize that it's a gift card to DoorDash. The reason why that's important is because I realized that my son at the University of California, most of my charges on my credit card is DoorDash. So I know that your mom and dad will be celebrating when they don't see a charge. This is the DoorDash card that would be able to get you at least 1 or 2 meals before you start charging your dad's credit card. So here you go. The next thing is a cup of noodle. While in college, I have come to realize that this is the one life-saving meal that you can always count on, right? You're sitting in your dorm room and you're studying, you don't have anything else, and so cup of noodle is the lifesaver, okay? So this is your cup of noodle. Every once in a while, a cup of noodle just gets really, really sorry. And so I diversified it by giving you some ramen. Because with ramen, what I learned in college is if you mix it with, turkey bacon, or you mix it with ground beef or ground turkey, it becomes something else. So when your roommates ask you to cook something, just mix this with ground beef. They'll be so impressed. So this is your second meal, I suppose. The other thing that you are going to need is instant coffee.
Right.
And so if you're in college, and those of you who've gone through college, you understand that you got to have coffee. You got to keep yourself up. You got to make sure that you study.
Right.
So because that's the whole purpose in you going to college. We want you to study. And we want you to become that person that you're striving to be. Okay? So this is instant coffee for you. To bring it all home, you need something that will boil it, okay? So in your dorm room, you plug this in, add hot water or add cold water, it boils for you, and voila, you got yourself a pantry in the dorm room. So that's dorm cooking for you, ladies and gentlemen.
And you gotta realize that that's not gonna last you forever. That's an example, okay?
Yeah.
Don't think that.
That's well said. Well said, Love Jingyi. These are just samples so that you know where to get them. So you can have a seat now. Thank you so much. Yeah,
Let's give you a hand of that.
All right, good job.
Shake his hand.
appreciate it. Congratulations.
It's a start.
All right, the next person that I'm going to be talking about is somebody who's very special to me. John Thao. Many of you don't know our history, and so I'm going to share a little bit with you how I met John. It was about 3 years after I got married, and I was working with some underprivileged juvenile students at our first-time offender. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to create an incentive to encourage them to write and to read. And so I started going around and to see whether I could actually raise some scholarship funds. So I keep hearing about this John Thao who works for Harold Sullivan, right? And I'm like, well, he works for Harold Sullivan and works for an attorney. He must have money. And so I meet John, and of course, John's very flashy, right? Many of you know him. During that time, he was young. He didn't have much hair, but he was good looking. He had all the fancy stuff. He was wearing the fancy Swiss watch, and I'm like, well, this is the guy I need to ask. And so that's how I met John. He sponsored my first scholarship for the students, and since then we had a wonderful continue to have a wonderful friendship. And that was 3 years after I got married, and we've known each other for over 25 years. And so that's how I come to meet John. My story is I don't have a big brother. John's story is he's the only one, he's the only child in the family. What I have found, and it's evident with all of you in here, is that John has this incredible ability to be able to bond with people. John has this special talent that people gravitate towards him. And that's part of the reasons why we became such good friends. John, who he is today, he is rich with family and friends because of his personality. You've heard it already. People have described him as being somebody who is very giving, who's very willing to receive others as well. And so that's the reason why John and I have such a long standing relationship. When I sat down and I asked Sang, his oldest, one of his oldest son, I asked him, what can you think of that your dad would like? And Sang says, to be honest with you, my dad has everything. Everything that he ever wanted, he has. The thing that he continues to strive for is time with family, friend. These are things that he wished and he quested for. No different than any of you. When we reach that point in our life where we realize that time is very precious, what we look for is time and opportunity to spend with quality people. not just people that will come and go into your life. And through your life, you will see that. There are good times and there are bad times. There are people who will be with you at some times, and there are people who won't be with you. And it's nothing personal. But one thing that you have to pay attention to is pay attention to those that will always be there by your side. Now, earlier you see me stressing about this slideshow. I wish the slideshow would be able to play for you, because it was composed of maybe about 100 photos depicting the experiences that John and I have been through. And so this spanned from, early 2000 all the way to present time. And in these photos, you will see the young John, you will see the young Steve, and then you will see John and Steve beginning to look alike because we spend so much time together. In fact, when I was mayor, oftentimes they would refer to John as my body double because he looks just like me. And so when he walks into City Hall, they say, "Oh, Mayor Lee," and so John said, "No, I'm John." And so when they look at me, they said, "Hey, John." And I said, No, I'm Steve. And so, but true story, everywhere we went, we hung out so much together that we began to lose hair the same way. We began to be bald and really look like each other. So my brother from another mother is John. And the more time we spent with each other, the more we sound alike and the more we look alike. And so if I had an opportunity to show the slideshow, you would see that through these years, the one constant denominator, John. It didn't matter whether I was in China, it didn't matter whether I was running for school board the first time or the second time. It doesn't matter whether I was running for mayor, for re-election. When I look behind for somebody to help me, John is always there. In fact, I've said this before many times. John helps me more than my own biological brother. And so that being the case, that then makes him my automatic big brother. And so since then, John and I have always just referred to each other as brother. And so that's how we met. But the interesting thing about my experience with John is many of you know he's always that constant denominator. He's that person that will always back you up and be by your side. And that's part of the reasons why many of you are here. And I think that's pretty clear by the number of folks that are here today. If I reflect back to the one thing that always reminds me of quality friendship, I always refer back to Alan Jackson. And I'm not going to sing for you, but I want to read the lyrics of his song that really highlights what this all means. It's "The Older I Get" by Alan Jackson. And the song says, "The older I get, the more I think. You only get a minute, better live while you're in it, because it's gone in a blink. And the older I get, the truer it is. It's the people you love, not the money and stuff, that makes you rich. The older I get, the longer I pray. I don't know why, I guess that I've just got more to say. And the older I get, the more thankful I feel for the life I've had and all the life I'm living still." So John, congratulations on your 70th birthday. I did go and check out the Lexus that you wanted, but it was out of my price range. The mayor's retirement is insufficient. A true story, I actually went to the gold store, and Victor Name can testify to that, because I called him and his wife and asked him, "Hey, where do I go?" And I was also priced out of of gold. I didn't realize that gold was that expensive. And then we went back to the car dealership and we said, maybe we can get a car. But we didn't get a car. But I want to invite my wife up because we did get something special. So I'm going to have my wife present this to both of you. And we thought about this, okay, I'll finish John, is one of the things that I know that you and Pam have not been to is the Hawaii Islands. And so in your retirement days, and to encourage you to get on your 2 feet, is we have decided to send both of you to Kauai for a week stay,
so
airline,
sweet.
hotel, car included, that's why I asked you about September. And the reason why September is important because it gives me enough time to pay off my credit card so that I can actually pay it off. But more importantly, I know that this is on one of your lists. And so this is to encourage you to get on your feet because you don't want to go to Kauai and sit in the hotel room. We haven't been there, so you guys have to take a lot of pictures and you guys have to tell us all about it. So, aloha Kauai. Good job, John. Thank you. Oh yeah, of course, yeah. So this is not the ticket, but we figured we frame a picture of Kauai. Aloha, John and Pam. You're going to Kauai, September 2025. Flights, hotel, car rental, and also allow me an opportunity to pay it off. So. Thank you, everyone, for your time.
All right, way to go. All right, John, get better.
Wow, that was very, very special.